What's up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to the Nation's Corner. I am Front Row, joined by Tony Justice, the greatest truck driver of all time. Our very own Mongrovian Mike is attempting to dial back in. Apparently, the Wi-Fi in Mongrovia sucks tonight, so he's
Sucks.
gonna figure it out at some point. Devhausen's out on assignment. Nation's Corner on location out at I think PPW,
Yep.
and also John in South Jersey is at CCW. People all over
Yeah.
the place doing cool
People all
stuff.
over, man.
Yeah,
Hashtag Nation's Corner on location in full
that's
effect
it.
tonight.
That's it. And I think John posted a great video, a great interview yesterday, right? Was the interview posted
Yes.
yesterday
Yes.
with
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca Scott?
Mm-hmm.
So go check that out. It's a phenomenal interview. John has been on location, meeting all kinds of people, getting some great guests. So shout out to John in South Jersey and Mongrovian Mike as well. And Tony, thanks for producing and getting all that content up on the channel. It's been cool. It's been very, very active lately.
Oh yeah, it has. The more content we get on our channel, the better, and it's been rolling pretty good. So I love the momentum the Nation's Corner has right now. So let's keep it going.
Yeah, so that sort of rolls into the topic for tonight, or one of the topics for tonight. It is National Women's History Month, and we've been celebrating women's wrestling on this show and in our group since the inception. But this month specifically, there's been some really cool stuff that's happened throughout the industry. If you get a chance, go back and watch. Thursday, I do a show with Emily May and Trenda. Trenda was not with us this week, but she normally is. Called Mission Pro Unmatched, and we did a segment talking about various influential women in wrestling. And I think we have a Mongrovian Mike. Hang on a second, bring him in like a guest.
Look at there.
There he is.
I made it.
You made it.
Mongrovian Mike widely appears.
I'm docking your pay.
What did I do? I went into my settings and found something, and I said, "Let me try this."
That's it. Just smash the buttons, and if it works, it works. That's the technical.
Smash the like button. Here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now my daughter.
Speaking of my favorite women, there she is.
My daughter and a boyfriend are going to see this and they'll laugh their asses off now. So there we go.
Oh, Neil, sorry to interrupt, but Neil in the chat, shout out to Neil, sick, Thunder Rosa busted open fathead. I see yours back there, front row.
Oh, yep.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got mine right here.
Nice.
Mongrovian Mike, where's yours?
I got a fat head and I have a I got the blood and guts.
Hey, yeah, and that's something I'm looking for right now. Awesome.
There you go.
Nice. Yeah, so as we're talking about cheers. I got my
Lante.
Coke Zero, unfortunately.
I got my sweet.
My wife's trying to keep me healthy. So as we were talking about Women's History Month, there's some really, really cool stories in the world of pro wrestling. And on the show on Thursday that we did, Emily and I were talking about the inaugural Mission Pro Wrestling title. And at the end of the match, as we know now, obviously, La Rosa Negra defeated Zoe Stark, Lacey Ryan, in the finals of that tournament. But at the end, Thunder came out and the roster came out and stuff, but the title was presented to La Rosa by Medusa. And it was a cool moment because Medusa is such a legend. She's such a trailblazer. And, for anybody who's spent time around her, she's extremely opinionated in a good way. She's a take no BS kind of person. And I have a ton of respect for her. But Jazz was also in the ring. And to me, that moment was like it was a quintessential watershed moment for women's wrestling. Here's this women's wrestling promotion, their inaugural title, now our inaugural title, and you have legends in the ring presenting and celebrating with all this young talent. I just thought it was a really cool image, and like all of it was really, I think it was an important moment.
I agree. It's what you do to carry on the future that makes a difference. The legends that can come out and do what they do in the ring to put a light on the future and make it shine brighter. In the women's wrestling especially, it's pretty awesome. You talking about that moment reminded me of a moment that we were there live to see. NWA 7 or Empower. You're wearing the shirt right now. That night, when Gail Kim and Awesome Kong came out in the ring, that moment we got to witness that in person. And what Mickey was talking about on Busted Open last week, and how the reaction they got, she wasn't lying, because that building, the roof came off of that building when those ladies came out. And I'm so honored to get to be there in the house for that moment. Neil was there, Mrs. Front Row was there, Trenda was there, you and me. That was just an awesome moment. I think back to that night a lot, and how privileged we were to be there in the house for all those moments that happened that night. That's just one of many moments that happened that night. That was just special.
I think of National Women's Month, and I think of just our little group, selfishly our little group, just the way that our little tiny nothing shit group were exposed to all this great female, these wrestlers, and now they're all tearing it up in like friggin' Impact and WWE and AEW, and I mean, you could just rattle off. We could spend an hour and rattle off names, right? But I mean, Zoe Stark, that comes to mind right off the bat. Masha,
Roxanne Perez,
Roxanne,
the champ. I mean,
it's just crazy. But then, if you really want to talk moments, I mean, in the past few years, a lot of the shining moments for women was involved Sasha. Mercedes,
yeah.
You think about it. Headlining WrestleMania. Then her and Bianca doing it, and winning the tag belts and just everything. And now she's tearing up in Japan. So that's that.
It's cool. It's cool, Mike, because so on Busted Open, was it today? Or no, it's today. They talked about what was your aha moment? Like, what was that moment that brought you into pro wrestling? And
sorry. Aha moment. Yeah.
it was a good conversation. People called in with different stories about whether they were kids or more recent fans. And I came into being a fan of pro wrestling in the Attitude Era. We've talked about that, but from a women's wrestling perspective, I started watching, and I was pretty disappointed in the way women were being presented in WWE programming in the early 2000s and in the early teens. But then NXT happened, and I understand there's a claim for Impact. I get it. I wasn't watching it. So for me as a fan, watching the women of NXT, watching Paige and Emma have that takeover match, and then after that, seeing Charlotte and Natty have that like just cornerstone moment in that match with Bret Hart and Ric Flair being just cheering them on. They weren't part of the story. They weren't part of the match. They were just there in the room, which was so cool. And you fast forward to moments like the Sasha and Bayley's, Takeover Brooklyn 1, which was still one of my favorite matches, non-gender, just doesn't matter. Like, it's one of my favorite matches of all time. We've been in the room for both the Thunder's title wins. We've been at some cool events where 20 years ago they wouldn't have happened. Right. We were at Starrcade 2017 here in Greensboro, and the semi-main was Charlotte and Natalya in a steel cage match. It was awesome. It was like a half an hour long. It was a killer match. But that wouldn't have happened, back in the Divas era. That would have gotten a 3-minute match, and that would have been it.
Oh, right. But NXT alone is just the other night, just the other day, was almost all exclusively women matches. It was of course Roxy and Mato Sakamura. That was the main event, but it was also you had Gigi, you had JC, you had I mean, so much that you can't even remember them all. I mean, there's so many on there. Sol Ruka, forget about it. WWE's crazy out of control and with the women, and they got to bring some of them up, man. It's insane. It's really good time for them.
Well, speaking of women, today I caught up on the China A&E biography they did on her last Sunday, and I got to watch that, and brought tears to my eyes watching that documentary, because we'd seen China's documentary they did on Vice, I think it was, or I can't remember
was that
where
a
it was.
Dark Side episode?
Yeah,
No, was it?
Yeah, that
I
was
don't
the
know.
Side of the Ring episode, but yeah, that was the bad one with the two pieces of crap. That
Right.
But seeing the A&E biography, and they've done such a great job on the A&E biographies. They've had a couple of misses in previous seasons, but for the most part, A&E is getting it right with these documentaries. And they did a great one on China. Yes, they had to shine a light on the dark stuff,
of course.
but she is such a for what she did for women's wrestling. She was a trailblazer. And then I think Beth Phoenix took the baton from China and ran with it. And then women are being just dominating now. And I think China deserves her flowers for being a trailblazer. She deserves her due in the Hall of Fame. And I was so hoping that last night when they announced the first Hall of Fame inductee, I was so hoping it would be China. But it was Rey Mysterio, which is well deserving. But I'm waiting for that solo induction for China. She deserves it.
Yeah, I want to just a couple things from the chat. First of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. See Tony Justice is in the chat. That's cool. I'm glad he's here tonight. Shout out to Brian. Brian, thanks for joining.
Brian.
As always, we always appreciate you being along for the ride.
David, happy belated birthday.
Nice.
He celebrated a birthday the other day, so happy belated birthday.
Happy birthday. We got Brent in the chat. Brent's a very loyal Mission Pro fan. He says it was AJ Lee for me, then stopped watching WWE and started AEW and found Thunder, and just really started loving women's wrestling. So that's cool. Those are words we like to hear for sure.
I respect that.
Yeah. So I guess I just want to bounce off what you're saying, Tony, as far as China goes. I have differing opinions about this, because when it comes to the Hall of Fame, I heard X-Pac talking about this. His, because he was obviously as his relationship with China was different. But he's a two-time Hall of Famer as part of two factions, but he's not in as a singles. And his argument is, hey, my Hall of Fame induction, my place in the Hall of Fame is no less valid than anybody else's, and neither is China's. And I understand why the fans and family would love to see her as a singles competitor. And sure, I wouldn't argue that point at all, but I would argue the point that she's not in the Hall of Fame, because as far as I'm concerned, you have the ceremony and you go in with a group of people and they all claim they're in the Hall of Fame. You're in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Would I love to see her have a solo induction? Sure, 100%.
Yep.
Look at how Flair was inducted in both. He's right. 3 times, isn't he?
I don't know. He's at least Evolution wasn't in yet. But he had a solo and a 4 Horsemen, I think, his 2-time, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's hit a third yet. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I don't think so.
But, to talk about the Hall of Fame, it's interesting because Ray was announced last night on SmackDown, which I think is amazing. I have a ton of respect, and literally everybody I've ever talked to has said he's the nicest guy. I've never heard a bad story about the guy, which is insanely rare in wrestling. There's always some dirt somewhere, but I've never heard it.
Right.
So, well deserving, and it's interesting that a current roster member, an active roster member, it's not the first time that's happened, but it doesn't happen very often.
Right.
So that leads me to think, who else is going to be in this class? So speaking of Women's History Month, who would you pick to go in this year? We talked about China. Beth Phoenix is already in. Also really cool that Beth Phoenix, Lita, and Trish Stratus, all Hall of Famers, are active even part-time, but they're still active competitors in important storylines right now, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, they were in after they retired, but now they're unretired.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really unique. So I can figure it's either they wanted to start doing it this way, or possibly they ran out of people to actually, not be embarrassed giving a Hall of Fame ring to. I mean, who else they going to pick? Is either Bastion Booger or start going to the active roster. So. I mean, all due respect to Bastion Booger, man, he was handed that gimmick. So.
Yeah, well, and so Mrs. Front Row suggests Cyndi Lauper, and of course, we've talked about that a million times on Zoom and here. There's a part of me that thinks she should go in the regular Hall of Fame for all that she contributed, but either way, she should be in there, whether it's a celebrity or not. But the Rock and Wrestling Connection, all that stuff that she did, Captain Lou Albano, and that whole storyline, the crossover with MTV, like she helped bring a lot of eyes to wrestling back then.
Yes, her and Rick Derringer. Also, I don't know if he's in. I mean, he's the one that wrote "I Am a Real American," so he produced the first WWF, the Superstars album. So,
wow,
I didn't know that.
Interesting.
Before it got ripped off and given to Hulk.
I mean, obviously, The Rock is going to go in at some point. I don't know whether this is the year he goes in or not. Who are some of the other people? There's, and when we start talking about women, I know the Bella's in and stuff, more recent people, but there haven't been a lot of retirees recently that aren't in, like Molly Holly's in. You really start to reach deep into the Divas era and maybe aren't necessarily the best picks for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be interested to see who they pick this year. The other thing, too, is it's almost sort of a disservice to say that you have to have one woman every year. Maybe there's 3. Maybe there's none. Maybe it's just this year. These are the people that qualify.
Mm-hmm.
Right. David Meach made a good point.
Nakano in?
Oh, yeah.
Is she?
Is who?
Bull Nakano?
I think so. I'm not sure.
I mean,
RA can probably. Oh, I see RA in the chat. Shout out to RA. He's our live Google guy. He'll probably bring it up for us. I don't know. I don't know if Bull Nakano is in. She should be if she's not.
Yeah.
I mean, we already, Luna's in, right?
Right, and it doesn't matter. Like the WWE Hall of Fame isn't specific to just WWE people.
Elizabeth.
Yeah. Because we know
would be woman going in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean that's one of the OGs.
Yeah. Okay. This is a great call. So just real quick too, like Jushin Thunder Liger's in, and he didn't exactly have a huge career in WWE. He only had a couple matches, but this is exactly right. Jazz should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. I have no idea about any politics or who's been asked or any of that stuff. Like, I don't know any of that stuff. All I know is that she has had a Hall of Fame career and continues to be a huge support to women's wrestling, not only with her Dog Pound Dojo. Her and Rodney run the Dog Pound Dojo, but she's a big part of Mission Pro and NWA and anyone who's willing to sit down and pay attention to her, because she is just a fountain of knowledge. She's incredible. So yeah, I would absolutely love to see Jazz in the Hall of Fame.
She's a wonderful woman, but whoever's keeping her out of that Hall of Fame should be stretched out by her.
It's funny because I've had the good fortune to spend some time with Jazz and around Jazz, and she's very nice, but I don't care. I'm still frightened. She still scares me to death. I feel like at any point something could go sideways. I don't know why, but
shout out to Mad Mac.
Would you run behind her? Would you run behind her?
Thanks, Harry.
Holidead off?
I look, shout out to Holidead, but I'm probably more frightened of Jazz. Sorry.
Mad Mac in the chat.
There's Mac Davis.
Man?
Shout out to Mac. Hey, Mac.
Hello,
thanks for joining us. I appreciate you.
Feeling.
Yeah, definitely loved your song in the ghetto. That's an awesome song that you did. I know it's a different Mac Davis, but what's up, brother?
Is that Mac the Knife? No, wait, that's something
That man had a lot more hair.
else. Probably. All right, so let's jump into some of the big news from this week. I do want to hit on some of the highlights of women's wrestling this week, but and we've been saying it forever, ever and ever and ever. Every week, the Bloodline gives us some new wrinkle, and rather than just going back and talking about match by match what happened, I just want to briefly recap where we are, and I want to get your thoughts on where you think we're going. So we saw, obviously, Jay returned on Monday Night Raw. Jey Uso returned. It looked like he was at odds with Jimmy. They swerved Sammy and then gave Sammy a beatdown. And at the end of Raw, it was the end of Raw, right? Cody came out and made the save, saving Sammy. So then that sort of leads you to the question, are Sammy and Cody going to team up? Because Kevin Owens is saying, I want nothing to do with this. He's like, this is your problem. This is a you problem, not a me problem. Go figure your stuff out. So that sort of puts the kibosh on our planning, on our visions for a KO and Sammy team up against the Usos. Maybe we'll get there, but right now that's not the story they're telling. But Cody already has a match at WrestleMania against Roman in the main event. So, like, is he going to team up with Sammy on night one? Like, we don't know how all that's going to pan out.
Well, you're still seeing KO in the background, right?
Yes.
So that means he's still in there somewhere. But what you said before, when we were talking about the Hall of Fame, Rock going in, but like Rey Mysterio was like a surprise, right? How about they could hold off? Rock isn't booked for WrestleMania, so everybody has that out of their mind. All of a sudden, the last week before WrestleMania, they announced the last Hall of Fame entrant that's going to be in, and it's The Rock. I mean, everything's sold out already anyway.
Mm-hmm. Just about.
So no reason to announce it, to drum up any kind of sales. So you could keep that, or you could keep that powder dry till the last few days and just set everyone off. And I mean, it still could be part of the Bloodline story. I'm not saying a match, but
yeah,
just him being there. Like, hey, look at the stare down that Sammy and Roman had, and the place exploded. They were in LA. Can you imagine just The Rock walking in the ring and just having a stare down? No, don't even have to have a match. Nothing.
Yeah.
Whatever. But
Tony, what's your thoughts?
Well, I enjoyed that moment Monday night, watching it live. The storytelling that they're telling with this story, I just keep saying it. It's just amazing. The facial reactions, expressions on Jay and Jimmy's face when Jay came and got in the ring and was face to face. And I saw a package on SmackDown last night where they recapped it. And while Jay and Jimmy were in the ring staring each other down, they showed a picture of them together as babies, and it just kind of went kind of through their childhood in like a span of 5 seconds. And then it went back to them in the ring, and it was so awesome how they did that.
yeah.
And then when Jay got out of the ring and did the whole, I choose you, Sammy, and the crowd popped for that. But then the swerve happened, and the crowd popped even louder when Jay super kicked Sammy, and it was just, that whole thing was just masterfully done. I enjoyed the hell out of that. So yeah, and Cody coming in to save Sammy. I kind of wondered about that too, front row, about, we're thinking it's going to be Sammy and KO, but it's looking like it's going to be Cody and Sammy. So I don't know where they're going with this, but I'm enjoying how they're getting there. So
yeah, and to
awesome.
your point, we saw in the background it was KO and Cody talking, right?
Yeah.
So what's going on there? They're giving us all these little, okay, this is happening, yeah, but this other thing's happening that just throws a wrench into whatever planning you think you have. All of us think we're smart wrestling fans, and then you look and you go, all right, well, everything I just thought that was going to happen is thrown out the window now because a whole week of programming happened and nothing's the same again. They hit the reset button. Or not the reset button, but they gave us another chapter that, and my Mrs. Front Row is a murder mystery author, and there's all these components of this has been carefully and masterfully done. Each chapter, each piece of this puzzle has been designed to throw us off the trail. So here we're only a few weeks before WrestleMania, and outside of like within this storyline, outside of this main event match, I really don't know what else we're gonna get, which is a great place to be because, as Mike said, they've got pretty much a sold out arena for 2 nights or stadium for 2 nights. You know, people are going to be watching, so you've already got your audience. Why not make everything interesting and give us some surprises? They're not trying to sell tickets at this point, so
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
Something like that. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I thought it was interesting. Poor Cody couldn't get his shirt off. He
I
had to
know.
rip his shirt off. He ended up with just the sleeve stuck on the cuff. He had nothing but the cuff left. It was hilarious. He must have been so frustrated. A couple of things that I am a fan of. You know, Bianca Belair is going to be facing Asuka, right?
Mhm.
Great match. I'm sure it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that as we get closer. I was a huge fan of Asuka coming back as Clown Kana, as the evil Asuka, whatever you want to call her. To Bully's point earlier this week, I agree. I haven't seen enough of an in-ring change. She's definitely working more snug. She's definitely working a more Japanese strong style, but it's really not what I've seen from her in NXT, and certainly not what I've seen from her in Japan. I would like to see that full version here. Now, we also heard that when she came to WWE and NXT, she was told, all right, maybe don't beat people up every week. Maybe go a little easy on people. So maybe there's some of that going on. But I would like to see more of a character change. I don't think she has any need to be near a title because she can just go beat the shit out of people backstage and in the ring and just lay waste to the division without having to be in a title match.
I agree with that.
Nobody.
It was a disappointment to see. I mean, yes, her new face paint scheme is amazing, which led us to believe we're going to get a full character change. But she's just the same old Asuka with a different face paint scheme. I want to see that evil. I want to see what she's capable of because we all know she's a badass. She's a destroyer of worlds. I mean, she can come in there and just lay waste to the women's division there and put everyone on notice. But for some reason, they're holding back on it. I don't know why.
Yeah, and I don't know where they're headed with that, but I am looking forward to the match. Maybe that's just something that takes a breather until after Mania.
Yeah.
But right now, if I had to pick, I wouldn't see her winning the title from Bianca. So
No.
something, and I know, Mike, I know you watch NXT. Something that I thought was really, really cool this week. Johnny Gargano on Raw beat Finn Balor, and then shows up on NXT the following night. And I'm going to jump around a little bit because the promo between HBK and Grayson Waller on Tuesday night was phenomenal. Like, he brought in Grayson Waller brought in so much reality to that promo and just tore down everything that was the old NXT. And I thought, Shawn Michaels, you would think that a talent would have to keep up with Shawn Michaels. Well, I felt like Shawn had to keep up with Waller here. And then, of course, Johnny Gargano comes out to represent because Shawn's not going to get in the ring. But
No.
So, Mike, I want to get your thoughts on that piece of it. How did you like that promo?
It was to coin a phrase from the Busted Open guys. It was a master's class. It was. He took, they saw something in Jason Waller for quite some time now because he was chosen to host that first Halloween Havoc, all of that stuff. He got sent up like a year ago. Who was the winner?
Yeah, I don't remember who it was against, but he made these brief appearances on the main roster.
But he's just been off the charts with. He knows how to get under anybody's skin, and the fact that BK said, "You know what, he's getting under my skin." This is good, and the whole thing is just masterful. what the hell is it about this guy? He's great in the ring too, and so he's really like, I guess what they call one of those 5-tool plays. He's got the look, he's got the attitude, he's got the presence in the ring, he's got the presence on the mic. He's only going to get better with that. The fact that they're putting him with Sean, that Sean is taking him right under his wing. I mean, it's like kind of like when we saw Vince taking Austin Theory under his wing up at Raw, and you knew like, okay, if he's doing this, if Sean is getting on camera with him and letting him do all this stuff to him, but to bring him back everything, it's amazing that I was expecting Jason Waller to bring back the GIF with him too, like he brought up like every embarrassing thing that Sean has done in the past and in a roundabout way, but it's just amazing. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And Gargano, of course, that right there. Gargano is going to lead Jason Waller through a fucking great match.
Yeah, it's great. Grayson Waller.
Did I say Jason?
Yeah.
But
Jason, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, okay, I'm gonna make a comparison, and bear with me, because when Grayson Waller speaks, when he was on Busted Open, when he does these promos, there is no character there. I mean, we know he is a character, but like I feel like I'm getting a real person, but he's one of those people that you can't back into a corner verbally. He's always going to have a response, and they're not canned. And I'm going to compare him to MJF because I think he is NXT's MJF on the mic. Mm-hmm. I think he's getting there, and he is absolutely custom made for the main roster because that level of character is going to do really well.
Yeah, just to interrupt for 1 second, he was brought up in front of way more people, not just the NXT crowd, and he got heat from that, and he didn't wither or nothing. So he does. He's got it.
Well, and it's all too like if you're picking talent to be in a specific match or a segment or whatever you're picking them to do, you have to have a level of confidence that they're going to deliver for you. Obviously, NXT is developmental to a certain extent, but there's also people who are on the upper echelon of that. And like Roxanne Perez in the ring, and she's the champion, and she's doing all this great stuff. And I have to give her so much credit because after her match with Meiko Satomura, she passed out, and not only passed out, like fainted in a horror movie, like she face planted. I legitimately thought she passed out, and I still am not sure. The way that they covered it and the way that they followed to the ambulance, okay, maybe that's all storyline. I get that. But the way that she collapsed made me genuinely believe that she was injured. Mm-hmm. So if she is, I hope she gets better. If she's not, then bravo, because it was masterful.
Yeah, it's kind of a touch on a real life situation with DeMar Hamlin for the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. When that happens, everyone watching that night, didn't know what was going on. They knew it was serious though. Good thing he's okay and he recovered and get to see his road back to the NFL. But yeah, watching that the other night with Roxanne Perez, it kind of made you think about that moment. Storyline or not, you want to see that she's okay. It was a scary moment for sure.
Yeah. Crowd too. That NXT crowd too. Remember with Kyle O'Reilly? When I threw him into the stairs, did the curb stop on the stairs or whatever. And they were like, "Oh my God, he's really concussed."
Yeah.
You bunch of marks.
All right, so I'm going to stick with the theme here. I want to talk about some of my favorite promos this week, and I want to get your thoughts on what's next. I personally, and us in general, have been critical of how AEW is presenting their women's storylines, as in they haven't had any. They have all these talented people, and we get the same 4 people every week, and yada, yada, yada. It's the same shit I complain about every week. Not this week. This week, what we got was Ruby Soho, who apparently is a good heel. Who knew?
Mm-hmm.
She went out there and cut a promo that connected all these dots from her championship match against Britt back towards the beginning of her AEW run, and several other key moments in her history where the fans rejected her, and she was presented as a good guy through all this time. Up until this week, she's been presented primarily as a good guy, or a babyface, and the fans were rejecting her. So I like a couple of things. I like that this story that they're telling us is an us against them, originals versus newcomers. What do they call their group? I forget. There's a name for it, but
The New Woman's Order.
Well, that's you coined that, and I think they should stick with that.
Yeah,
NWO, New Woman's Order.
Can't forget Chairway to Heaven too. So Scotty.
Trademark.
Yeah, trademark those, Scotty.
But I want to get you guys' thoughts on the promo a little bit, but also what can they do to help this story along? Because I feel like Jamie Hayter, while she's part of the story, this isn't a story about the title. This is a bigger story. And who knows if this is true or not, but the story they're telling us is that there's animosity in the locker room between the newcomers and the OGs. We've read that in dirt sheets. I don't know if any of that's true, but I don't care. It lends to the story. It gives some reality to it. And I like that this isn't about the title. So Tony, I want to hear from you first about what can they do to make this story better? Like where do they go next week?
Well, Bully says it all the time on Busted Open about how he likes a little reality with his wrestling, right? Well, that's what we got from Ruby Soho Wednesday night. We got some realness. When she came to AEW, yeah, she was, from the WWE, and there was an excitement for her being there, but then it fizzled out, in my opinion. And she's been outshined, and just kind of faded to the back, not really being used. So now she comes out in this storyline going on now. She comes out with that promo Wednesday, and oh my gosh, I mean, you're right. I mean, she is an excellent heel. Everything she said was believable, which is probably because it was some realness put into that. And I feel like that with the success of the promo that she gave, well, then Saraya and Tony Storm are going to have to come out. They can come out too and be just as real. They've had some things happen to them. Saraya can come out and talk about plenty of stuff, but I think what's going to get this whole storyline to the next level is everyone involved in the storyline. And I'm talking about, the OGs too. Put that realness into it. Just come out and speak your mind, say what's on your heart. Just put it out there. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to make this storyline go to the next level, I think, is like basically back in the day when the NWO happened, right? Well, people were saying, well, they didn't know. Of course, I liked not knowing, but you didn't know if they were sent from the big place up north to invade WCW. You didn't know because that's what people were saying. So, use a bit of realness in this storyline now to make it just as believable. And then you're going to go somewhere with it.
Yeah. Mike?
Yeah, well, I was getting invested in Ruby. She bled in that extreme match that they had. And then it went weird. It was like, oh, choose me. And you were like, what is that? It was kind of wonky, like, but then she came out there, and when she did the turn, I'm invested in it. I'm invested in Ruby's character now. It's I think she's going to help Tony and Saraya do much better as a trio, and possibly add another member later. It's going to be good.
Yeah, and like Brent says in the chat, it was awesome. They started tying things together and some long-term booking, and that's it, right? They gave us stuff. you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but
No.
tell us what happened over the last year and a half, 2 years. Like why are you angry? Why should we care that you're angry?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Fogged our memory. We remembered that. Hey, why are they booing Ruby? What did she do?
yeah, we were like, holy crap! Like she came out and had this amazing match, but they sided with Jamie. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Wait a minute. Where did this come from? I remember that was sort of the beginning of the groundswell of support for Jamie Hayter.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's interesting that the OGs are being positioned as the good guys in the story.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I don't know that Dr. Britt Baker can remain a good guy for very long, but just because she plays such a tremendous heel,
Yeah.
we'll wait and see how that all plans out. But I think what's going to take this to the next level, and it may get real. We'll have to wait and see. But this All Access, this reality show that AEW has on the horizon, just from the clips that we've seen, there was a lot of shit talking in the promos. Some of it I wasn't a big fan of.
Yeah.
But I do think this is going to help fuel a lot of the storylines if they time things right.
Yes.
Right.
And it's all about this.
Yeah.
Thriller.
Well, I don't think I think the problem too, like WWE did this thing where they had Total Divas and Total Bellas, but they were filmed so long ago that by the time we saw the episodes, the backstage stuff had already long happened. So there was no real connectivity with the on-screen product. Here they have an opportunity to do that. I don't know when this was filmed, obviously not this week, but they have an opportunity to use the conversations and the stories told to then bring it to social media, bring it to Dynamite and Rampage, and really, really inject some grittiness. I just, I hope they do it right, and I hope that everybody involved gets elevated. There's some returning people at some point that could be part of it. You've got Thunder could return as one of the newcomers, even though she's been there for a while. She wasn't a day one person. Chris Statlander could come back because she was there from pretty early on. She could side with the good guy team. There's a lot of options. I don't want to see 80 people in it like the NWO.
Right.
But
Me neither.
But you could make it the coolest story. Like right now, if I look at Dynamite and Rampage, it's the most intriguing story in AEW right now. Not saying then do other stuff, but I don't know. Can you guys think of another story that's got you more interested right now?
As far as AEW, they've been starting to connect all the dots with everything. I'd say it was a very heavy vignette and promo heavy week for them. That all parties involved cut a lot of really good promos. I mean, they have the Danielson. It just really some really good stuff. A lot of nice tense moments with Renee Paquette interviewing people, who always adds something. Her mannerisms and just everything, Just
so you guys have noticed that AEW's the pacing and the structure of the show has been significantly better recently, except for last week. Last week was really fast paced, but generally, like, it's gotten much better. And I saw a lot of people online commenting about how much they liked the entrance packages at Revolution. And, that probably can be attributed to one of the biggest hirings that AEW had in recent months was, they hired Mike Mansouri, who did wonders with WWE. He did a lot of the video packages, and he did a lot of the takeover entrances that we saw that we love so much, like Sasha's and all these things.
Royal Rumble in Saudi, that first one?
I don't know. Maybe.
Sorry?
No, you're talking about Mansoor.
Oh.
No. That's Mansoir.
Oh, and Otis now.
Otis, yes. I'm a big fan of Otis.
Yeah, that's we did notice that right off the bat from the pay-per-view, and you smartened us all up to that, and we're like, oh well, kudos.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty. It made the news. It made the rounds when he was hired to AEW, and he's widely regarded as just a tremendous creative mind. So I definitely saw some elements of that at Revolution. So I thought it was cool. And, we talked about at the time, Rick, Revolution to me might be my favorite AEW pay-per-view of all time. We didn't even get a chance to talk about that too much because it's so long ago now. Things move so quickly. That was a week ago. But it was a phenomenal pay-per-view.
It was. It really was.
Yeah.
I had tweeted out the night of last Sunday. 3 matches, in my opinion, candidates for match of the year on the same pay-per-view. MJF and Bryan Danielson, Hangman Page and Mox, and then the trios title match with House of Black and the Elite. Those 3 matches in themselves were just amazing. I thought top to bottom Revolution was a great pay-per-view.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that also they paced it well too, because there were 8 matches. It was like, what was it, 3.5, 4 hours, whatever it was, maybe 3.5 hours, and nothing felt rushed.
Yeah, that's what they need. Dynamite to be a 3.5 hour show.
Don't give anybody ideas.
But no, take just what Tony, take just what you have planned in the 2 hours and just put it to a 3 hour show and don't add anything else. And then no, it was because we were nervous with the. I love it when a pay-per-view does that though, because we're always nervous. Like I know front row, you were like me. You were like, I don't want to pay $50 freaking dollars.
No.
After we saw Dynamite, we're like, I don't want to pay $50.
No.
I don't know if I want it. And then we saw it.
Can 10 of us go in together? How can we work that?
We ponied up.
We didn't do that.
It was a really great pay-per-view. It was awesome.
Yeah. And so hopefully that sets the tone for better storytelling. And even the post-media scrum this one was a lot better than the one with Brawl Out. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool, and I'm excited to see what they have coming up. I did want to take a moment to
speaking about the scrum, bro.
Oh yeah,
I got some pickles. Good shit. I'd asked Tony if he wanted a pickle, but he don't like pickles.
I don't like pickles.
I don't like scared pickles.
Oh, man.
So, Tony, I want to wish you a happy birthday. Your birthday is coming up on Tuesday. And a year ago, you and I and Mrs. Front Row on Monday, 13th, right? No, would have been the 16th. March 16th, we were in San Antonio together.
Yes,
that was
we were.
Pretty cool. Your
Special
birthday
moment.
week. We will not be together this week, but I'll see you on Zoom. So
yeah, I wish all of y'all could be, because after the show's over tonight, I'm going to celebrate my birthday in style. Gonna go out and go to the club in town. My family's coming with me, and I wish that my Nation's Corner crew could be with me, because I would love it if y'all would just show up. Now, I posted about it on Facebook last night, and I said the OC, which is the initials of the club I'm going to, and Ashley, shout out to Ashley. She responded back. She said, "It's such late notice," and I said, "Okay, so the place is called Outlaw Country for those that feel froggy, that just want to, if have a private jet waiting or whatever, and y'all just want to fly over, come on." But anyway, thank y'all very much. I'm gonna have a blast tonight.
Tony, I'm gonna raise up your drink, man. I'm gonna toast you, buddy. Here's to you, bro.
and I want to echo what Steven says.
Let
me split with you. Yeah.
Wow. The pickle juice is strong.
Pickles are disgusting.
Pickles are awesome.
They are.
You're just wrong.
All wrong.
You got to go to a farmer's market where they have all the different flavored pickles. They have the garlic pickles and the hot, the spicy pickles, the sweet ones. Oh, they're delicious.
I did.
So good.
Did you notice the ones that MJF left behind on the podium there though? They were honey mustard, I think. And I was like, wow, those are probably really freaking good.
Yeah, that sounds delicious.
But he walked away with the regular New York deli style ones, I believe.
Okay. Nice. Before we let folks go tonight, and Tony, I'll let you go celebrate. Just want to mention, we have our next pay-per-view, Edge of Glory, Mission Pro Wrestling's Edge of Glory on April 22nd. Tickets are going actually very quickly. I think front row VIPs are sold out. There's a lot of content coming out. There's a lot of interviews and videos, and pay attention to our socials because there's a lot of good stuff to keep up with. A lot of surprises coming. So just stay tuned to the socials, and we appreciate it. So Tony,
I'd like to say, yeah, if you love the Mission Pro women, you could sponsor some of them too. So
thank you. Yes, glad you reminded.
And whatever referees, anyone there, you could even sponsor front row. You could sponsor.
You cannot sponsor me.
Yeah, for a cigar and a Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
All right, fine. I'll accept a Dunkin' Donuts card. Although we do have 23,000 points on the app right now, so I think we have plenty of free drinks coming up.
Wow.
Yeah. I see Brent in the chat too. It's interesting you mentioned Kylan King. The rumors are that she signed with Impact. Tommy actually said on the show this morning that she had.
Yes,
I don't know if he was supposed to confirm that.
Yes, she did. I'll confirm it. It was the other night. Yes, we saw her debut with the witch. Damn it,
Taylor Wilde.
She came. Yes. So she's with her. She came up behind Killer Kelly, and just whacked her out with a chair. So the mother effing King is on the Impact, and she's ready to wreak havoc. So two of my favorite big women are on that show right now, Kylan King and Savannah. So I love it. I love that show. So good.
Yeah, I'm happy to see people get big opportunities. I even like the Woad was on NWA this week. We're seeing people that have come through the doors of Mission Pro just everywhere. The independent seat has never been. La Rosa
challenge.
Camille.
He won too.
Yeah, very, very cool.
He won too. I hope I got that. He won something. Sorry, Ezra will correct me if he did where he is. That earthquake.
Ezra's probably watching GCW. All right, guys.
He's cosplaying.
Yeah, probably.
Too sweet cosplay.
Yes. All right, Tony, where can people find you on the socials?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Tony Justice AJFA. If you're a Metallica fan, like all three of us are, you know what that means. Ooh.
Mike?
Well, you can find me Mongrovian Mike. That's it. That's my handle everywhere. I want to shout out to today. I was at Lidl or Lidl, however you pronounce it, the supermarket that's taken over the North. And I'm online, and the guy behind me says, "Hey, nice hoodie you got you're wearing there." I listened to the show. I said, "Oh, I'm Mongrovian Mike," and he said, "Oh, you're that asshole." Shout out to Ed if he's out there.
Major asshole.
Later on, I told him we do replay, so if he wasn't here live, shout out to you, buddy.
Awesome.
And that's it. That's what we do. We're ambassadors of, positivity for wrestling, just like our friend Chris,
Yeah, connecting people.
Yeah, shout out to Chris. Chris jumped in the chat with us on the Mission Pro live streams this week too. We were texting earlier this week. Good dude. Just such a positive force in wrestling.
I love that dude.
We're just all out there. That's what we do. That's what we do. Crab cakes and positivity. And as you guys know, I'm the most positive fucking guy around. Look at me.
Yeah. I had a comment that I will reserve about other fans maybe not being so positive, but we'll leave that alone for tonight. We're in a good spot tonight. Let's leave it there.
Yes, right, I agree.
Positive.
All right. Well, you can go yell at people later.
My blood type is B positive, so there we go.
Yeah, that's probably not true. All right. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.